Hello everyone! In this quick tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to mix browns from a limited palette of 3 transparent single pigment staining colors. So I have some fresh color all squeezed out and ready to go. I'm using Nickel Azo Yellow, pigment identification number PY150. This particular Nickel Azo is M-gram, and it's a beautiful transparent staining yellow. For my red, I'm going to be using quinacridone magenta pigment identification number PR122. It's a transparent staining red, and I actually really prefer M-gram colors, but M-gram does not carry quinacridone magenta in its lineup, so I'm using Winsor & Newton. For my blue, I'm going to be using ultramarine blue. The pigment identification number is PB29, and this one is also from M-gram. These 3 colors have a beautiful transparency to them, and they're going to create just some beautiful browns. Now you're probably wondering why I'm not just using a burnt sienna. But when you're painting with a limited palette, this is really teaching you all the subtleties that come with color and creating those beautiful gradations and blends and helping to create harmony in your painting by not having too many colors. So by creating your own browns, you're using the colors that are in your painting, and that's how you get harmony in your painting. So let's get started mixing these colors. Okay, so let's create a basic brown. The easiest way to start your brown is take a little bit of your quinacridone magenta, and you want it fairly thick. You don't want a real thin mixture. And a little bit of the yellow. So now I have an orange. I should go back and say the reason why you want your mixture fairly thick is because it's a lot easier to thin the mixture down than it is to try to get it thick. So that's why you want to start with fresh color, because then you can just grab just a nice amount of that color. Okay, now I'm going to add just a little bit of that ultramarine blue. Now I can already see that's too blue. So what I need to do is go back and add a little bit more of the other colors. I'm just going to keep adding till I think I've got a fairly good brown. All right, let's put some on the paper and see what we've got. Nice. And I think that's a fairly neutral brown. It is leaning a little bit more towards the warm side, but I think it looks really nice. So now what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and change that brown around. Let's say I'm painting something that's really has a lot of reds and the browns tend to lean a little bit more towards that warm side. So let's see what happens when we add a little bit of the quinacridone magenta. Let's add a little bit more. And now you can see how I've changed that brown and there's a little bit more red in it. So now let's do a cooler brown. Need a little bit more color there, so adding in some more of that magenta and the yellow. And then the ultramarine blue, and now let's see how that looks. And look at that. So I've got a much cooler brown now. Now watch what happens when I add, just drop in some yellow here and there on this upper color. Look how all three of those colors work together without dulling down, which is what would happen if you tried to use a very opaque yellow or blue or red. So you can see that you can keep adding to it as long as that paper's wet, and you can really see the glow in those browns. So now let's see if we can make a really, really dark brown. So I'm just randomly throwing some of those colors into my pile here. And that's what you're going to be doing too. And I really encourage everybody to just play around. Add a little bit of each color and see what you come up with. And then if you need it thinner, add water. Now let me just kind of blend them all together. Let them blend. And there you go. That is how you create harmony in your painting and how you mix your browns. So good luck, and post some photos of some of the browns you've created. Like, you may substitute ultramarine blue for, say, a phthalo blue. And you may substitute the quinacridone magenta for a quinacridone rose. And if those are the palettes you're painting with, your browns are going to look different than mine, but they're going to be harmonious with the colors that you're using in your painting. So I'd love to see what you guys do.